Noisy video sucks. Maybe you don't have enough light in your shot. Maybe your camera doesn't have great low light sensitivity. Maybe you eyeballed your exposure, and well, we've all been there. Today, we're going to look into ways to denoise your footage using a few methods that might just help you save a shot. Because as much as we try not to, sometimes you just gotta fix it in post. So why denoise? Noise is a part of every image. Even the cleanest of cameras have some noise if you zoom in enough, and of course, if you crank any camera's ISO high enough, you're going to eventually see some visible noise. How much you can tolerate is somewhat subjective, so we're not going to tell you what that is, but this is about fixing it after the fact. As long as the signal's not totally lost in the noise, you have a shot at it. Now there are those, yours truly included, who would say you should avoid denoising whenever possible, but sometimes we have to do it, and there are both aesthetic and technical reasons for doing so. First up is consistency. Some shots might be noisier than others for a variety of reasons, I mentioned them before, and it would be distracting when edited together against pretty clean shots. Compression. Noisy video is much harder to compress. Even if you make your own super high bitrate encode of a noisy video, you oftentimes have no control over how much lower those bitrates are going to be on streaming websites or even broadcast TV. All that noise you tried to save? It's out the window. Now it turns into macro blocks. Denoising is performed with algorithms that go beyond the scope of this video, but broadly speaking, there are two main types of denoising that you should be aware of. Spatial denoising. Denoising that only works on a given frame. A still photo, for example, is spatially denoised as it does not reference any other frames. Spatial denoising allows you to apply a constant level of denoising across every frame, but it can be abused very easily. Temporal denoising. Temporal denoising works across multiple frames. By comparing frames sometimes before and after the current one, a denoiser can determine what is noise and what is detail. This form of denoising is especially effective in relatively slow-moving shots, and most video denoising is temporal in at least some way. But it does have its drawbacks. See, on heavy settings, temporal denoising can start to blend objects together or confuse small details for noise. You might get a smearing of detail as you pan the camera, or a subject moves across the frame. Temporal denoising is usually a slower, more processor-intensive process, but it does tend to produce better results overall. And of course, there's the combination, or what some people refer quite simply to as spatio-temporal denoising. And this is basically the use of both techniques to produce an optimal image. As you'll see though in some examples, using either technique too much can ruin your image. Perhaps my go-to denoising these days can be found in Blackmagic's DaVinci Resolve Studio. The neat thing about it is that it's part of the color correction workflow, so you can denoise each clip individually to your heart's content. And it's accelerated by your graphics card. It still takes a toll though if you're denoising something like 4K red code raw footage, which we have up here, but it does a fantastic job. You should know though that this is not available in the free version of Resolve, so this is a paid feature. So in the color grading tab of Resolve, we're going to click on the denoising menu on the bottom left. And on the left column, we're looking at temporal denoising. Since temporal denoising works on multiple frames, you'll want to use at least 2 frames, though I often use 3. You can use more than that, but there are diminishing returns as you go higher, and it gets a lot slower. More than 3 could also lead to increased artifacting in high motion areas as it blends more frames together. So as I adjust the slider, you can see the image clear up. I tend to not go above 25-30, so if I move it too high, the image begins to lose significant detail and takes on a smeared appearance. You'll see, by the way, that there are sliders for both Luma and Chroma. That's your brightness and your color information respectively. In most cases, I leave these conjoined, but there are times where you'll want to get rid of more chroma noise than luma noise, or vice versa. It really depends on the noise characteristics of your camera. Now this is something that can happen with any denoiser. It's easy to see the pristine, clean image and think, oh, this is great. But I got news for you, it's not good. The key to denoising with any video, still photo, or even audio is moderation. You want the image to still look natural and believable, and there's ways to do this. To illustrate this even more though, all you have to do is crank up the spatial denoising. These are extremely sensitive tools, so I recommend low settings. Some spatial denoising is important though, because temporal denoising won't get everything. A very fast object in a frame that moves so much that the frames around it are completely different won't get caught. When they move too quickly, a temporal denoiser won't do much since every frame is so different from the last. This is where spatial denoisers come in handy. Now, one trick I like to employ is Resolve's blend feature. Let's start with temporal denoising first and just go a little bit too far. Now, this is too smooth in my opinion, but it hasn't smeared around, so it's still acceptable. We're going to use the blend percentage here to bring back some of the lost detail. Now, we'll do the same on the spatial side. We'll use the enhanced method here for the best quality and then crank the settings up. The image should begin to look almost plastic smooth. It's going to look really sterile, but you just want to hit that point and then back it off a little bit. Again, blend the original back in, and you can see that you've restored some of that lost detail and texture. So that's really it. That's essentially how denoising is performed in most applications. Now, there are other options out there which I should mention, including Neat Video, Magic Bullet Denoiser, there's a Remove Grain filter in Adobe After Effects, and there's one option I'd like to take a little look at, as it is a free option found in the video encoding program called Handbrake. There are two denoising algorithms that are part of the underlying video processing libraries in the program. The NL-means method in particular, while on the slow side, can help out with some troublesome shots. So if you have no other options, it's something to look at. So some closing tips before we go. Should I denoise before or after editing? It's a good question. Generally, I like to only denoise the clips that need it, but there is a benefit to denoising a finished video. You save a lot of time only processing essentially one video rather than hours of raw footage. Lighter denoising on a finished edit is also a great way to help your video compress better for the web. I would almost say that you should run all your finished videos through a very light denoising pass if you're going to the web. Most websites don't provide a high enough bitrate to really handle noisy video, so unless you want something like an artistic grain effect in your video where it's very obvious that it's there, it could help out a long way to give the whole video a very light denoising pass. I would avoid spatial denoising for this though, because you can remove crucial detail in things like logos, graphics such as lower thirds, and still images. So that's it for this first episode of Fix It in Post. I'm Doug with B&H. Stay safe everyone, and I'll see you next time.